Welcome to another episode of the Y2Podcast, the show where we cover the films that made the 2000s such an important decade for movies. I'm Tony.
And I'm Gabe.
And today's episode is all about Josie and the Pussycats. Stick around, let's talk about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, strap yourselves in and prepare your ear holes to be violently pounded by the Y2 Podcast. Here are your extreme hosts, Tony Crespo and Gabriel Bornero.
All right, guys, welcome back. Gabe, how you doing today?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Oscars night. I guess after we recorded the first two episodes before the Oscars, now we're a week after. How do you feel?
Feel good.
It was an Honora sweep.
It was very much so. I don't hate it. I do think that they'll look upon these Oscars sort of like how they did when Crash won Best Picture.
No, Honora is a really good movie. Honora's my favorite movie of the year still, or last year.
But I don't know. I feel like time will tell. Again, I liked Honora. I'm glad that it won, but I just sometimes feel like they'll go back on this one.
I don't agree. I think though the only thing that
well, maybe not Best Picture. I think they'll probably should have said that they should have given it to Demi.
Yeah, but we've talked about this before. Usually the comeback Oscar never happens. It's never really happened. I can't name one.
Brendan Fraser.
That movie sucks though.
Exactly. He still got the Oscar for it.
Yeah, but Michael Keaton didn't happen. Mickey Rourke didn't happen. Eddie Murphy didn't happen. I think the odds are against the comeback. It's always going to favor the new talent on the block.
I get what you're saying, but I just think Demi should have gotten it. They should have finished your comeback.
I agree. But either way, I'm happy because I think Mikey Madison gave a wonderful performance in Honora. It was a stacked category.
It was stacked. I mean, you can't hate that they give it to Mickey. I'm not hating. Don't get it as I'm a hater. You and I have discussed how much we both liked Honora. I just think I grew up with Demi. I should just maybe given it to Demi. But again, I'm not hating. Mickey winning I'm fine with as well.
You call her Mickey?
Mickey, Mikey.
Like Mickey 17?
Whatever.
So Mickey 17. It's really, really good. I know you haven't gone to the theater lately. I think you would greatly enjoy Mickey 17.
Yeah, I think I've seen two movies at the theater. Now that I remember correctly, I saw The Brutalist, but that was last year's movie, but I saw it this year. And, Den of Thieves.
You got to see Mickey 17. Okay. Other than that, I thought the show was really, really good. I thought Conan did a great job.
Oh, I love Conan. I've always loved Conan. Back when Conan used to come on after Leno, I would actually skip Leno to watch The Simpsons at 10 o'clock, 10:30. They had the dual Simpsons running, and then at 11, I switched over to Conan.
Which is perfect because he's an OG Simpsons guy.
Right.
So no, I thought the show was really fun. I thought it was cool. Adrian Brody won Best Actor, which was obvious.
And longest speech.
It was the longest speech
of all time.
A lot of people have an issue with that. To me, he's an actor. They're weird. they do weird things. He's a weird
We've
guy.
talked about this, right? And not to sort of curtail from what our podcast is about today, but Adrian Brody has a weird trajectory of films after he won the Oscar.
Yes.
And it's not like the best trajectory you would want to take.
He does a lot of B-movie stuff, indie movies, horror movies. He's all over the map.
Right.
A lot of TV show work.
Right. And I have guest stars for one episode, a lot of cameos, a lot of splice.
Yeah. So, but now he wants to go on a run. As he said in his Oscar speech, he wants to be the greatest.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I mean, he might be up there now. Two wins.
I guess 2 Oscar wins for him.
That's big. That's really big.
Yeah, that is huge.
Okay, so
Lick his nose.
Oh no, that is the best quality about Adrian Brody. He's got a very memorable face, a memorable actor face.
Oh, for sure.
He's a leading man, but he's kind of got the features of a character actor.
Of course. I'm just fucking with around, messing around.
He's a very well deserved one. I think that another one where it could have gone either way for anybody, but I think everybody knew Adrian Brody at the end was gonna take it.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed the show. That's not what we're talking about today.
No.
We had to touch on it because we were talking about it before. We are talking about. I'll let you open that Pepsi first.
My bad, y'all. Go on.
Gabe's boycotting Coke right now.
Oh, it's happened.
Okay, let's talk about Josie and the Pussycats, a film that's based off the Archie comic and the Hanna-Barbera cartoon. Did you grow up reading Archie comics? Like, were you well aware?
I was well aware of Archie. I was well aware of Josie and the Pussycat comics. I was not a reader of them.
It's like the most popular comic strip of all time. Still going.
No, yes. Comic strips, yes. When we used to get the Sunday paper, I used to read the comic strip, the Archie comic strips. But it wasn't like I was actively going out of my way to go buy an Archie comic book.
That's a lot of Archie, that's a long and storied history. It's so much.
Are you a Veronica or a Betty?
Betty.
Interesting.
Did you watch the Riverdale show?
I fucking love the.
I figured. I had a feeling Gabe likes CW shows.
I do. There's something about I guess what is it? The young teens or old
young adults.
Young adults.
Yeah.
Drama, like seniors in high school type dramas. To this day, the OC, One Tree Hill, fucking phenomenal. And the first couple of seasons of Riverdale were great. Then they went very, very weird towards the end of its run. But anyways, yes. I mean, you're talking about Camila Mendes as Veronica and Lily Lionheart as Betty. I mean, they're nice.
I've seen maybe the first couple episodes back when it aired.
Right.
And I thought, this is really neat. This is cool. And then I never kept up with it. And then I know it kind of took off, has its own following. As big as Archie comics are, there's a huge following for Riverdale.
There is. And Josie and the Pussycats play, I would say, so for some seasons, a major role. And other seasons, they take us, their background characters. But yeah, I mean, it was a good throwback to the movies when you watch Riverdale and you're like, oh, look, it's Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah, and Josie and the Pussycats has a long and storied history as an IP and their place in Riverdale, Archie canon, and even their spin-off comic book ran for 20 years between the 60s and the 80s. They have a few one-offs, and then I think now they have a new series out. I don't know who's it by, but they do have a new Josie and the Pussycats comic book, I think in 2016, so I don't know if it's still on. My introduction to Josie and the Pussycats was the Hanna-Barbera cartoon that would run on Boomerang and Cartoon Network.
Mine was probably the same since I'm older than you, and then sort of lost track of them until the movie came out.
Yeah, and it was one of those shows where she's like, oh, okay, that's on. Like, it's not really one that I was going to sit there and watch.
You think about this in a sense, right? Is you had Josie and the Pussycats cartoon show, but you also had Jen, also heavily musical favored.
That's true.
And so it was like, do you like Jen? Do you like Pussy and the Pussycats? Like, which one are you going to watch?
Yeah. Pussy and the Pussycats?
Yeah, I guess.
You're all over the place today.
I am.
What is happening? What is wrong?
I don't know. Since the weather has been going off. Like, it's supposed to be 70 or close to 80 on Friday, and then it's going to drop down to 30 on Saturday.
I think we're living in the end times.
Like, that's a 50-degree drop.
Don't worry. They're going to build the seawalls to protect us.
I hope so.
Climate change isn't real. Okay. So when it comes to this film, I saw this with my mom and my sister when it came out. Vividly remember that, my mom being very excited for it. It was always a movie that was around. I really enjoyed, thought it was really funny. But now it's bigger because the movie wasn't that much of a success on release. But now it has this huge cult following, which is totally deserved because it's a great movie. Arguably the best adaptation of the Archie comics characters, I think. I haven't watched all of Riverdale, but from an outsider's point of view, I look at it and go, yeah, they adapt what is on the page for its time pretty perfectly. It feels very cartoony, but it also feels very much of the 2000s in a very smart way.
Right. It does. I think I saw this on, I rented it at Blockbuster, of course.
That was the best way to do it.
That was the best way to do it.
You
Well-
probably were, watching some Bigfoot porn and drinking like a Mountain Dew.
No, listen, porn wasn't readily available to me when this movie came out 2001.
2001.
It wasn't like it wasn't like it is now. I mean, yeah, the internet was out, but it was no Pornhub. So the closest thing would be, Josie and the Pussycats.
Now, how long did it take you to dial up pornography on the internet?
Quite a bit, to the point where I had magazines and just cassette tapes.
Oh, wow. You were living in the Stone Age.
It was.
You were jerking off like a caveman.
I was jerking off like a caveman.
Okay, so this movie is directed by Deborah Kaplan and Harry Elfont. They worked on Can't Hardly Wait together, which carried over the same cast of Seth Green, Breckin Meyer, and Donald Faison. They're Seth Green's one of the main characters in Can't Hardly Wait.
Right.
The other two are in the band. They get into a little bit of a argument. A lot of cameos in Can't Hardly Wait. They're in there. Rachel Lee Cook auditioned for the Jennifer Love Hewitt role in Can't Hardly Wait. And they loved her audition, but they gave it to Jennifer Love Hewitt, and they thought of her immediately for Josie and the Pussycats.
Right.
So the role pretty much just went to her right away. Besides that, those two haven't really directed a whole lot. I looked into their filmography. They've written like Maid of Honor, Surviving Christmas, and then Can't Hardly Wait is the big one that they directed.
Yes.
Deborah Kaplan and Breckin Meyer were actually married at the time, too. They were married for like a whole decade, so he would cameo on a lot of the things.
How's Breckin Meyer? Like, motherfucker's been married since like the early 2000s?
Well, he's 50, and she would have been in her early 30s at the time. He would have been in his early 30s. They're only like 3 years apart. I didn't put two and two together that they were, they were a thing. And I'm guessing him and Donald Faison are like really, really good friends.
Yeah.
Between this, Clueless, they're in Clueless together.
Yes, they're in Clueless.
I would love to talk about Can't Hardly Wait, but it sucks. It misses the mark because it's in '98.
It does miss the mark.
We can't really cover it on the podcast. But I'm a big fan of that movie.
And she's all that. Almost
She's all that.
A similar cast.
Which Rachel Lee Cook was, I don't want to say she was having a moment, but she's a very.
She was having. Come on, let's be honest. She was having a moment.
She was charming. She's very charming.
She's very cute. She's very. Like, for a lack of a better term, she's like your girl next door in a sense.
No,
right?
sure. I think
She's very cute. She's not gonna stop you like dead in your tracks, like drop that gorgeous type. But she's like very beautiful woman.
I get what you mean, and there was something very relatable about that, especially in She's All That, which didn't fare well critically, but was a huge hit at Blockbuster amongst teens. It's very popular, well-recognized teen comedy.
Right, because when those parody movies were being like done, it was like one of the main movies that was parodied.
Right, for not another teen movie. That's
Right.
the movie they're making fun of.
Well, yeah.
So for the rest of the cast, Beyonce and Aaliyah were considered for Valerie. We talked about Aaliyah. They were trying to get her in all these things.
But Aaliyah was big. I mean, she had her album. She did the soundtrack for, it was one of the Eddie Murphy movies. I want to say
The Nutty Professors? Was it one of those?
Professor, or it was It was for Dr. Dolittle.
Okay.
She had that huge hit. It was Are You That Somebody? And it was for the Dr. Dolittle soundtrack.
She was everywhere. They wanted her to be the big thing.
Right. And she could have been.
She could have. For Valerie, that role went to Rosario Dawson. They wanted somebody that had a bit more of a background in acting and comedy, had some good comic timing. And then Tara Reid, though, she didn't need to audition for this because of the success of American Pie.
Right.
And so she was just signed on.
And she was the oldest one. She was 28, playing a teenager.
Oh, wow. She was the oldest one out of them.
Yes.
I didn't know that. She's great in this. She's really, 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 really funny. And the rest of the cast that fills this out, Parker Posey, Missy Poyle, Alan Cummings, Gabriel Mann, And then there's a bunch of little quick cameos in here as well,
Right.
which that's a staple of the 2000s comedy. Get as many cameos as you can get, including the legendary Eugene Levy in a very, very funny scene that we'll talk about.
You know what I love about Eugene Levy is the eyebrows.
Oh, you gotta love those caterpillars. You gotta love them.
Yeah, they're like the best. His son has them too.
He does, and his son is, very, I would say, as popular as he is.
Yeah.
At this time,
Sure.
writing comedy, and then their TV show, SNL, all of that. So we start off this movie with the greatest boy band of all time, the best,
The best.
de jour, on top of the world. And there's a great opening scene that, like, if you're not in at that moment, you won't be in for the rest of the movie, because it spells out everything the movie is trying to make fun of in the opening moments.
Right.
With the product placement, the commercialism, all of it. We got Seth Green in there, Breckenmeyer, Donald Faison, and they're on top of the world. They work for Mega Records.
Yes.
They're the
And
greatest boy band.
their agent is Alan Cummings.
Right. Wyatt, their agent, played by Alan Cummings, they board a plane, and here we find out that they've discovered something on their new hit single, De Jour, Around the World, a little backtrack that may or may not have some sort of hidden messaging. Wyatt freaks out and goes, oh shit, they've discovered it. We got to stage a plane crash. Tell the world De Jour is dead. They're gone.
They're done.
So De Jour's, presumably everybody died in this plane crash. Everyone's sad, including the audience, because we don't get to see them for the next 80 some odd minutes.
And then remember, the plane crashed in Riverdale.
Yes.
So
And this is where they go, who's going to be the next big artist that we're going to promote? And this is where we meet Josie, Melody, and Valerie, and they're in a band called the Pussycats.
yes, and they're playing to nobody at a bowling alley.
Yeah,
That's where we meet them.
a great song.
It was a good song.
All the music in this is really, really good.
It is.
Like, unironically, like all the music in this is really catchy.
It's like pop, rock. Music or like 2000s was. I mean, one of the thing is when you watch Josie and the Pussycats, you are like submersing yourself in that like era. Like it's like that movie's frozen in time.
It really is.
2001. From the fashion to the music to the product placements to like everything. It's like a time capsule.
Yeah, and it's almost like the filmmakers knew the movie. It's almost like they purposely made those choices of everything about this has to be current. We have to be making fun of MTV. We have to be making fun of what the teens are into. We have to be talking about internet culture and fashion and magazines, all these things. The movie's even shot that way too, right? And this is all in the opening moments of the film. So we're in Riverdale. Wyatt discovers Josie and the Pussycats. After he's on the hunt to replace De Jour, they're immediately flown to New York, and they're promised the world. They think it's kind of weird, but they run with it,
Right.
right? Like anybody.
Why wouldn't you?
And this is where we meet Fiona, played by Parker Posey, Mega Records CEO. She's great in this.
She is.
Like the timing of every line she has is just perfect and very physical.
It is. But Parker Posey, isn't she great?
That's true. No, and this is she's always a great player in a lot of these comedies. Like whether it's Best in Show or this, or even something like Superman,
Right.
right? Where she's not like the biggest character in the movie, but I don't remember much of that movie, but I remember a lot of the great comedy Parker Posey does in that, right? So we discover in this moment in an underground facility that the United States government has conspired with the music industry to plant subliminal messages in pop music to get teenagers to buy every new fucking trend, from Diet Coke, Pringles to Steve Madden shoes. They believe it'll help build a robust economy.
Makes sense.
And they run this down for us in this fake promo they've done with Eugene Levy.
Right.
And it's perfect. This also reminds me of the Scooby-Doo movie, which has very similar ideas when they go to Spooky Island, which we'll get to in that episode.
Yeah. Also reminds me a lot of like Pineapple Express when it starts off with the black and white.
Oh, with the item 9.
Item 9.
Yeah.
So it's basically the government just leading us the way that they want to. I mean, still seems the same way.
What's brilliant about this too, because I feel like we were all obsessed, or like I think a lot of people were, with conspiracy theory, with like musicians and actors and Hollywood, and in the dawn of the internet, everybody was talking about this. Like they're behind everything.
Well, I mean, even to this day, you talk to anybody about Avril Lavigne, right? And they're like, "Did you know she died? Do you know this is her replacement?"
Right, the reptilians and everything.
Right. Or it's always like, "Oh, Elvis is still alive. Tupac is still alive." There's
Right.
always some
Mexico.
sort of like some conspiracy theory about musicians.
I mean, Kanye doesn't make it better. He claims he's a clone. Have you seen that guy's tweets lately? I think I've sent a few of them to you.
I try not to.
He needs help, man. Somebody's got to help Kanye.
There's no help for him.
He's deep into the red state Nazi stuff.
It makes it hard to claim him.
No, even the old stuff now, I'm like, fuck. Graduation's so good.
Right. Late registration. No.
College dropout, like yeah. So what's really fucked up about all this is any musician that finds out about this big plan the government has, Mega Records stages their deaths through plane crashes and drug overdoses, that's a really messed up thing in this.
That's why they got VH1 behind the music.
Behind the music, VH1, they set up the show, which all this stuff is so funny. And it is like so on the money in terms of its satire, of what it's doing. And it reminds me of even the Austin Powers movies at this time, like just Spitfire, like laser focused on what they're trying to parody.
Yes. Because I mean, it's making fun of all of Hollywood and itself out of the entertainment business, whether it be movies, music. I mean, the commercialism of it all.
And this is why I think like no other decade could this movie work. I don't think this movie can work in the 80s. I don't think it can work in the 70s. I think it's a melting pot of this very moment in the early 2000s where everything was coming to a head. It's the dawn of the internet, video game culture, movie culture, music, Carson Daly, Total Request Live, like all that stuff was happening at once. McDonald's, Target, all the things in this movie that they're making fun of. This idea that the brain rot of buy was happening at this very exact moment. And you put Josie and the Pussycats, this very idealistic small town 1960s idea, Archie comic style idea. What happens when you throw them into the modern age? The Brady Bunch movies do that too.
They did.
A lot of like that was a big thing happening at this time with like the Brady Bunch and the Addams Family movies. Like, what if we kind of take these characters and bring them into the modern age?
Yeah, they did a really good job with it. Like you said, it wouldn't have worked any other way. I mean, like you said, it's post Y2K, a little pre 9/11. There was a sweet spot that it was so much like joy that we were living in a new millennium, without the harsh realities of the actual world that we were gonna live in.
Yeah,
in a little bit, right? So yeah, 2000, 2001, you had like a good year and a half before shit came crashing down. And in that year and a half when this movie came out, it was so optimistic, but yet you were looking at the world in a way where it was like, okay, there's so many product placements out and everything. Like there's so much like commercialism and consumerism going on right now. And America was just going fucking crazy at that point in time.
Yeah, everybody's buying everything.
Yes.
And like, and anything that was happening, anything that was innovative, anything that was new, anything that was fresh. And it does kind of like, that's why this idea of the subliminal messaging in the music, it works.
It does.
Because one, the songs are very catchy. And they have this great joke in the movie where kids go, I think I want to get the new Diet Coke. The new Diet Coke is the new Pepsi One. Like things like that.
Right. Pink is the new orange, or orange is the new pink.
Right.
Kept on changing. Like throughout the entire movie, the color that was in kept on changing.
Right. And a lot of this is done through even like the supporting characters like Missy Poyle, who's always funny and everything.
Right.
Another great supporting comic character and stuff like Dodgeball. She shows up in this and she's really, really, really funny as the band's Alex and Alexandria, right?
Right.
Alexandra, they're their managers. So we don't. It's interesting because this movie is both, like I said, a satire and also this great adaptation of a comic book that's not afraid to adapt all things, and this idea of Archie, which is what is Archie, all these supporting characters in that
Right.
in that IP. So the band, they put out a hit single, Pretend to Be Nice. They also meet Fiona for the first time, and they think she's like super, super weird. We get this great joke where Tara Reid, says, "Oh, I have a chill down my spine," just because of that. But she's also like standing by a block of ice too. So but due to the subliminal messaging in that song, it becomes an instant hit, tops the charts. Valerie instantly starts resenting the attention the label gives Josie rather than the band. Melanie starts to have this perception of like what's going on too. She gets super suspicious of Fiona and Wyatt, and they're watching them at all times. They have cameras on them, and this is where Fiona orders Wyatt to kill Valerie and Mel before they can uncover the conspiracy theory. So they're sent to a fake appearance on Total Request Live, where Carson Daly and Aries Spears is a Carson Daly impersonator who's doing all these different voices, terrible impressions, attempt to kill them with baseball bats.
Yes.
It's a great scene. It's a really funny scene.
And then there's Carson Daly and Valerie.
Yeah, they
start trying to.
Oh, and Mel, yeah. They have this moment where a lot of great, writing in this scene, just parroting again the idea of Carson Daly. He's in on the joke, like
Right.
He really understands this material and what the movie is trying to say.
Yeah.
Too, right. So one of my favorite scenes from the movie, really silly, really fun. At the same time, Josie is being indoctrinated into the idea of the subliminal message.
Oh yeah, she's like she's like the you're the best lead singer. Like you don't need the other girls.
Yeah.
She's like listening because they gave her a tape of like, oh, here's her new album. Listen to it, make sure it's mixed right, whatever.
Your friends are evil, and it's Mr. Movie Phone doing this messaging.
But this all started like from the very beginning because when they got to New York, remember they changed the band name because they were just the Pussycat.
Yeah, and then it's Josie and the
And then
Pussycats.
Josie, and then Rosario Dawson's character was like, why is she like front and center? And even like the VHS covers, right, and the posters for this movie was Josie was front and center,
Yeah.
and the other two girls were like behind them on like the edges of everything.
Yeah.
So like she's always like, why is Josie in front of everything?
Yeah. We're going to talk about this soon a little bit. There's a lot of people that really hate the idea of deconstructing an idea. Like it's something that's really well loved, like an Archie comic, Josie and the Pussycats, Scooby-Doo, the Flintstones, Barbie. I think this movie has a lot in common with Barbie, where I think there's a ton of people out there that do not like the idea of this movie can be very earnest, very funny, but it also can make fun of itself and go, there's some problematic things with this very idea that we're doing.
Right.
This movie's very smart enough to navigate through all of that. And I think this movie and Barbie have a lot in common with each other where they do that very similar thing. So that's one of my favorite aspects of this movie as well.
I think like this movie's I think this movie is great in the sense of it makes, like you said, it makes fun of itself. It's very self-aware. And these movies in the early 2000s, they were self-aware. Charlie's Angels that we've talked,
Very self-aware.
very self-aware, right? Josie, very self-aware. You brought up Barbie, very self-aware. Like you're self-aware of what the material is, and you incorporate that into your script, and it just makes it so much better because you already know what your IP is.
Right, because you give it something to say rather than like, okay, it's a straight adaptation of the cartoon, which will please fans, maybe the small amount of fans out there that were like, I really love that Hanna-Barbera cartoon, or I really love the comic books. But you have to give it a bit more attention. you got to give a bit more attention to that detail.
You do.
Like what are we trying to say here? What's the message? And this movie's really, really good at working through that. So, unfortunately, Josie, she skips out on Alan M's concert. She loves him. He loves her. And she doesn't realize this, but she's, she broke his heart. And he's a sweet boy. He flew all the way to New York. He's been supporting her, and he loves her. So
she assumed
she made
he didn't like he didn't care if
she made an assumption.
She did,
which directly impacts her brainwashing too. So there's a subliminal message on her latest single, "You Don't See Me," and that is after the argument with her bandmates. Josie realizes that the single caused the fight. Her suspicions are confirmed. She uses a mixing board to see, all right, well, what's the hidden track on here? And it's like, Valerie and Mel are evil. They hate you. They suck. Sell this. So Fiona catches on to this and hatches this huge plan. Mega Records has organized this giant pay-per-view concert that will be streamed online, where they plan to unleash a major subliminal message via these cat ears. You can only listen to the concert with these cat ear headsets that viewers must buy to hear the audio. And Fiona and Wyatt plan for Josie to perform solo, and otherwise, they will kill Melody and Valerie in this staged car explosion if she does not comply. So, but in this moment, answered from the heavens are the badly injured but alive Dijor members.
Dijor comes in.
They survived the plane crash. They landed it safely, but unfortunately, they landed it in the parking lot of a Metallica concert where they were severely beaten by the fans. And only one of them really wasn't that badly beaten because he knew the lyrics to one of the songs.
Enter Sandman.
Enter the Sandman, yeah. So I thought that was really, really funny. We get this big fight scene that breaks out. Fiona, Wyatt, and the security guards of the girls tussle with them. And Fiona accidentally destroys the Mega Sound 8000, that soundboard they're using to implant the subliminal messaging. And we find out that the subliminal message in this new song was just so Fiona could be universally popular. Which was this whole movie, like I guess like the big message besides it is just be yourself. Don't worry about like what's popular or what the trends are. Just be who you are. That's like the big spelled out for you message in it. But Fiona suffers like this breakdown. She's got this lisp she's been hiding the entire movie.
Right.
She lets it out, and then her and Wyatt figure out they both went to high school together.
And they were both losers.
They were both losers, and now they actually love each other. He was an albino.
Right.
Which was Alan Cummings, very funny and everything. Great. This movie surrounds the cast with great character actors.
Yes.
So maybe the main leads aren't supposed to be very funny. They're playing the roles very straight and empathetic because you want to love Josie and the Pussycats, but you surround them with a bunch of weirdos. That's what makes the movie sing.
No, for sure. And then the U.S. government decides that, you know what, the music industry's very volatile. They're going to put all their subliminal messages into movies.
Right. They let Fiona take the fall.
Right.
They were in on it until like, oh shit, they found out the plans. We'll let her take the fall for this, and we'll just start putting messaging in movies.
Yes.
Which again, the movie keeps going in on that bit, and it's not afraid to make fun of everything and anything.
No. It makes fun of itself. It makes fun of MTV culture. It makes fun of consumer culture, capitalistic culture. It's very well written, very well made. I think I said like the satire is just amazing on this.
No, it is, and man, there's only good jokes that work in this movie, and they just get. I feel like I discover something new each time I watch it. There's so many bits. There's so many moments with Parker Posey or whoever it is that just they feel right. Like this is just a really well done 95-minute comedy. So Josie, Valerie, and Melody, they perform the concert together without the headsets. The plans are ruined, so they're just going to be who they are, right?
Right.
Alan M confesses that he loves Josie. She tells him she loves him too. And then we get the gag reel over the credits, because what is 2000s comedy without a gag reel over the credits? And then we get the full Du Jour Around the World song playing at the end too. Great song, probably the best song in the movie, I think.
Yes, I love that. You know what though? Would you pick the Du Jour over NSYNC?
Yes. Yes, I would. What is your favorite song from this movie?
Actually, the bowling alley song that they played to know.
The Three Small Words. I think that's the song.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That was the best song.
One thing I love about this movie, I touched on it before, is I think this is again, I credit, the Charlie's Angels movies also looked really, really good. I think this movie looks great. And it's so well shot. It's very inventive with its like camera angles, and even like you could tell it's shot on film. It's got like this. I was telling Victoria the other night, every moment in this movie looks like it's a still photo from a magazine.
Right.
Which I feel like was done on purpose.
It's very shiny, very glossy.
It's very much like shoot it all like a music video.
Yeah.
Because of what they're making fun of. They're making fun of this idea. You kind of have to have the movie look that way too.
Yeah.
Very pretty movie. A lot of inventive camera angles and cinematography, and it all looks great. You could see why this is a movie that they play a lot in a lot of like local theaters where fans come out and,
With their cat ears.
with their cat ears and support it, and now critics love it heavily. I talked about it before. This was not a movie that was well received upon the time, and also failed at the box office pretty badly because they did not know how to market this movie.
Right.
It was marketed towards children, but the children were too young to remember what Josie and the Pussycats was.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way this was for children. I mean, there's no way I could see this being played for children.
No, and I think the audience that the directors were aiming at were specifically, young adults, people in their 20s, teens, people that would understand the jokes in this movie and what the movie was trying to say. Roger Ebert, who we've brought up before, also hated this movie.
Of course. We've had this conversation about Roger Ebert. He really hated a lot of pop culture films. A lot of stuff like stuff like this. A lot of stuff that will like speak to younger generations. A lot of like pop culture-y, in the moment movies. I felt like.
Yeah, it is true, because, and he's admitted that, like, he would talk about, like, he hated the Friday the 13th movies, and those movies spoke to teens in the 80s. What did they want to see? Sex, blood, guts on the big screen. And he thought that shit was vile.
Right.
Even like the Spice Girls movie, he was like, I don't understand it. I don't understand what we're trying to do here.
Because that movie was atrocious.
You don't want to talk about that in the show?
Well, it doesn't fit the time frame.
It's like 96 or 97, I think.
It's like
right?
98.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that movie is atrocious.
I've never seen that movie.
Good. Don't ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I thought that would have been up your alley. I got to see it.
No, it was not up my alley at all.
But yeah, this movie wasn't well received. But it was like one of those movies. If like you remember it, you know it, you like it, and I would say within the past 15 years, there's been a lot of articles and a lot of screenings. I go to the New Beverly. You already know this. I've gone to New Beverly quite a few times, and they always screen it there.
Yeah.
So this is a movie that has a big following, and people love it, and they want to see it on the big screen. They dress up, on Halloween, and it is a very the best kind of movies are the ones that have that are memorable, that are visually memorable. You know the characters, exactly if somebody dresses up as Anne Hathaway in The Princess Diaries, right?
Right.
You know what they're doing. You know what they're referencing. If somebody dresses up on Halloween as three girls dress up as Josie and the Pussycats, you would go, oh, I like that movie. I've seen that movie, right?
I would argue with anybody in a sense to tell me that a movie that has a cult following in my eyes is bigger than the movie that came out to $1 billion. I would argue that a movie like this or Rocky Horror Picture Show, for example.
Yeah, Wet Hot American Summer.
Wet Hot American Summer that have huge cult followings are bigger than Barbie, bigger than these billion-dollar movies that.
Yeah, in terms of fandom, right?
Yeah, because it's very niche. Yes, it's very niche. I would get that, but their fans are so hardcore, and then you bring other people into the mix because you're like somebody's going to say, hey, what movie do you recommend? Well, you're going to recommend the movie that you fucking absolutely love. You're going to recommend that, and then you're going to make another person like that movie, and it just goes on, and then by the end of the time, most of our big movies at this point are mostly cult movies at this,
Yeah, I think the movies, I get what you're saying. Like the movies that we remember throughout film history are the ones that, we have personal attachment to and love, but also other people do too, right? Like we've talked about it before. Nobody's talking about. I like Dances with Wolves. I think it's a great movie. I like I like it a lot. But the movie from that year people talk about still is Goodfellas. That Goodfellas didn't win Best Picture,
right?
But it's regarded as one of the best films of all time. And nobody talks about Dances with Wolves as one of the best films of all time. That won Best Picture, right? It's the same for like
Shawshank Redemption, huge one.
That's the huge one.
It flopped. Remember, that movie flopped.
Yeah, and like a lot of people hate on Forrest Gump. Like, it's got its following. People remember Forrest Gump throughout the history of film, and Jenny and The Running and Lieutenant Dan.
Anyways, yeah,
Bubba Gump Shrimp. But for the most part, there's a big following of no. Frank Darabont's Shawshank Redemption should have won Best Picture. It is one of the greatest movies of all time. There is no changing that, and you really can't argue that because it really is kind of a perfect movie. Like these movies we think of, right?
It is. Okay, you love the 80s. I really fucking don't really care about the 80s, but when you think 80s films, you're not thinking fucking like these Best Picture 80 films as like the best movies of the 80s. You're thinking fucking Terminator. You're thinking Alien.
They're thinking Lost Boys, Fright Night,
right?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right. You're not thinking these fucking amazing 80s movies.
Right.
All you're watching are cult movies from the, cult favorites from the 80s.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean because there are obviously the great films of the 80s that are, that did well critically, like terms of endearment or like broadcast news.
Right.
Nobody's talking about those as much.
There's no podcast in terms of a fucking endearment.
Right. Unless you're like deep into film, right? Like you love movies so much and you want to listen to your favorite podcast. They're talking about terms of endearment or broadcast news. Great movies, right? But what you're talking about, this idea of pop culture, the stamp of approval of pop culture, what we think of as a collective unit who watches these things.
Right.
Right. In the 90s, we think of, there's not going to be many people that... See, it's a weird comparison, right? Because these are all great movies, but we think of, Jurassic Park as like one of the greatest movies of all time. As a general audience, we're speaking in general audience terms, right? Those are the moments we remember. It's less so about what was the best picture that year or what fared well critically that year. It's more so where were you when you saw this? It's that personal memory.
It's that, yes. And this is what I argue is that a movie doesn't need to win Best Picture. It doesn't need to win whatever it is. That to me, the more popular or Best Picture for that year would be the movie that you talk about and you remember the most.
Yeah, I mean, for years we've talked about like Adam Sandler, right?
Right.
I mean, everybody has this fondness for Adam Sandler now, but it wasn't too long ago where like most Adam Sandler fans, they love his movies and they've always loved his movies, and he's made some actually bad films that are irredeemable, right? Like
Jack and Jill, yeah,
like Jack and Jill, or even That's My Boy, right? Like, but also if you're Adam Sandler head, you were always gunning for Big Daddy. You were always there for Billy Madison. You were always there for Airheads.
The Waterboy.
You were there for Waterboy.
You really weren't there for Airheads. Airheads was very, very beginning, but you were there for Brendan Fraser.
Shit, I still defend Airheads. Like, I think that movie's funny. I think it's great.
Right.
But I get what you mean. Like, that's before his,
Before his SNL, his takeover, and shit like that.
There's people that compare it to, like, your favorite kind of movies are almost like, there's like a warmth to it It's like chicken noodle soup. It's like something that'll uplift you, you know, when you're feeling down. Like I can turn on that Sandler run if I'm like in a bad mood or something, and then like I'm just having a great time, right? It's the same thing applies for movies like Josie and the Pussycats.
Right. When you're sick, you're not going to go and fucking put on Schindler's List
Or Precious.
or fucking Terms of Endearment. You know, like, oh no, you're just going to put on something that's going to like soothe your soul and just make you forget that you're sick. You know, something that you could mindlessly scroll on TikTok while the movie's playing in the background because you watched it so long that you know the fucking words to it. For example,
Are you encouraging people to scroll mindlessly on TikTok?
I am
How
not.
dare you?
I am not.
Are you a Chinese double agent?
No, I am not. Because if I was, I would just say, just download fucking
Red Note?
Red Note.
You just start breaking out and start speaking Chinese right now, like John Cena.
Yeah, no. No, but like what I'm saying is like, for example, one movie that I'd take to my grave that is my favorite comedy movie of all time is Friday.
Yeah.
Right. You know, you've heard me many times talk about how much I fucking love Friday, which by the way, they gave the green light to for Cube to do Friday.
We'll see. I've heard that so many times.
Dre Day came out and said it.
Let's see.
Anyways,
Mike Epps said it. Let's see.
you did. But anyways, I was watching Friday again for like the umpteenth time. And I'm fucking quoting this movie left and right. I'm by myself. My wife walks down, sees me. She's like, are you quoting this entire movie? I'm like, yes. She's like, why the fuck do you even watch it then? Like, you know this movie by heart, right? Like that, but that's what I'm saying. Like, these are the like type of movies that people love.
Makes you feel good.
It makes you feel good.
makes
You know every single scene. You know what's coming. You know what they're about to say. And then you're fucking quoting the entire movie.
Yeah.
This is one of those films from the 2000s that I feel like you said there's a huge cult following. It is fucking, and then it's fun and it's great.
It's what we talked about before, where a great movie makes you go, why isn't there a sequel? You really don't want a sequel, but it makes you in the back of your head go, what happens next?
Right.
Like, what happens to these characters? What happens to this world? And you get that feeling watching this because you watched it through and you're like, man, that's a great moment. That's another great moment. That's great. That's a great song right there. That's a great bit they're running through.
Right.
I forgot to mention, by the way, all the music in this movie was released by Playtone Records, which is actually a fictional record studio from the movie, one of my favorite movies of the 90s, That Thing You Do.
That Thing You Do.
Yep. So,
That's on me.
yeah, weird. I didn't know they were releasing actual music.
Right.
But I guess certain soundtracks they put out under Playtone Records. So when I was looking at this, I'm like, Playtone Records, I know that. Where's that from? So I thought that was really, really cool. I love this movie. I feel like everybody should see this movie. I think young girls, if you saw Barbie and you're like, what's another movie like Barbie? It's this movie. You know, Barbie was very similar, and it's a great adaptation of Barbie, and fans of all ages can watch it. But it also has a great, lovely message about what it means to be this girl and like how society views you and being that best version of yourself. This movie has all that.
It does. So, but I'm gonna just circle back a little bit right quick because I want to sort of like drive in this thing right. So when we're talking about movies from 2001, I'm gonna name you 5 movies, and you're gonna tell me which one would you rather watch, Josie and the Pussycats, or these 5 movies are the nominees for Best Picture of 2001.
Okay.
Okay. So would you rather watch Erin Brockovich or Josie and the Pussycats?
Erin Brockovich is a great movie, great Julia Roberts performance, but I would still pick Josie and the Pussycat.
Okay. Chocolat. How my cousin says it, right? Chocolat. Or Josie and the Pussycats.
I can't even think of that movie the same because of your cousin. You want to watch Chocolat? Like, why? Why would I want to watch? Johnny Depp really, really good in Chocolat. I would still pick Josie and the Pussycat.
Okay. So Josie is 2-0.
Yeah, they're 2-0 right now.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Was that a Best Picture nominee of 2001?
Yeah, it was.
Give me the Best Picture nominees of 2002. Because that's the fair matter. Remember, it's always a year off.
Shit, you're right.
Yeah, because I'm like, those are all 2000. Crouching Tiger's a great movie. Very innovative movie.
Right.
Yeah, give me the 2002 Best Picture nominees.
All right, cool. All right, so we're gonna start this all over again.
Let's start it again.
We're starting it all over again. All right, first one up: Josie and the Pussycats, or The Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Rings. That fucking 4-hour saga where the trees walk.
Man, I really like the Lord of the Rings movies, actually.
But think about it in a sense, comfort, right? Think comfort. Think like the zeitgeist of 2002 or 2000.
Okay, it's not my favorite Lord of the Rings movie, so I will take Josie and the Pussycats.
Okay. Josie and the Pussycats or A Beautiful Mind.
Josie and the Pussycats.
All right, Josie and the Pussycats, and I've never heard about this movie, Gosford Park.
Josie and the Pussycats.
All right, Josie and the Pussycats, or another movie I haven't heard of, In the Bedroom.
In the Bedroom.
Yes, In the Bedroom. In the Bedroom was Sissy Spacek, Marissa Tomei, Nick Stahl. It's a thriller.
I'm gonna say this is a blind spot for me. So, I mean, I guess by default I'd have to pick Josie and the Pussycats, but I don't know In the Bedroom well enough to know, is it as good or memorable?
It's obviously not as memorable.
But I guess 2002 for Best Picture, unless there's some In the Bedroom shooters out there that are like, this is the best fucking movie. I mean, it's got a great cast. You know, Todd Fields, great director. Little Children, I love that movie. I think that's a great movie.
All right, so the last picture nominee for 2002, right, is going to be Moulin Rouge or Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah, I'm definitely picking Josie and the Pussycats over Moulin Rouge.
So it just swept the nominees for Best Picture of that. That's just how great, in a sense, sometimes these cult movies are better than what critics would deem Best Picture nominees, right? And again, it's not going to be the same for every year, right?
No, of course not. And we're talking about prestige. These movies carry a prestige versus this movie that, you know, we love. That's a takedown of pop culture, and
right.
It's very fun and funny, and it has a bunch of people that look good that we love and are also very sexy.
Absolutely. I was trying to stay out of like the sexiness factor in this entire podcast. I don't know if anybody noticed this, but I really wasn't talking about women and stuff.
Well, and this movie is a very sexy movie, so it's kind of hard to avoid that.
It is. But I feel like every single podcast that we do or we've done, whether it be audio form, video form, I'm always talking about how sexy some girl looks.
I'm sorry, but this movie is sexy and it knows it. All right? It really is.
It does.
It really is. Everybody looks good in this movie. There's not a person here that doesn't look good. You know, Parker Posey's weird, like doing this whole weird villain thing, and she's good looking in this movie.
Right.
Missy Poyle looks great in this movie. Everybody looks great in this movie. But you know what? Film also makes people look sexier, I think. This movie's shot on beautiful 35 millimeter. Every aspect of this movie looks really cool. And
I like that you said that, because I feel like hopefully when we make our movie, I look sexier in it.
In 35, I think everybody looks great in 35. Maybe that's why it was the format that we used for so many years. So, I love this movie. I will always be down to like show it to people.
Definitely defend it too against, you know, people trying to bring it down.
Unless you're like over the age of 70, I do not want to hear this is a bad movie. This is a great movie.
It is.
Not even like the aspects of side of like growing up with it, seeing it at a young age. I think now looking at it through the lens of what it's trying to say about pop culture in 2001, it works in every single aspect. So I love it. I know you do. This was pretty much just us praising it for, you know, about 55 minutes or so. But it really does deserve it. I mean, even when I showed it to Victoria a couple summers ago, she was like, this movie's great. Like this, and she also made that same point of kind of reminds me of Barbie. Like Barbie has these very similar moments of what it's trying to do with its characters. So I would honestly, I would be so down for this movie bombed, right? So like we would never get like a sequel or anything.
Well, you know why it bombed though, right?
The marketing.
It wasn't the marketing. It was Archie Comics actually going out and saying, "Do not watch this movie."
There's no way.
There is a way. Archie comes. So here's basically what I've gathered here from this. All right. So due to the level of profanity and adult themes, Archie Comics, which published the original Josie and the Pussycats, they denounced the film and discouraged people from seeing it.
That is such bullshit.
Because they thought of, the swear words, the adult themes, because, it's kids and it's comics, right? What I found particularly funny is when they put Josie and the Pussycats in Riverdale, they were all for it and supported the hell out of it. So like 20 years later, in a sense, right, they really wanted the adult themes for Josie and the Pussycats.
They came around to, so they supported the Riverdale show?
They did.
That's crazy.
But not this movie. Right.
That is criminal.
Exactly.
Maybe I have to give the Riverdale show another chance. I'm not really into the whole teen drama thing.
I know you're not.
So it's really hard. Like, to me, like, you have to have a sense of humor about adapting a comic book.
You do, but I think you do. But these comic books, movies, like we've seen at this point, we see almost every comic book adaptation there is known. And I think like the lesser ones, like Josie and the Pussycats, they have to be very self-aware. They have to be this type. They have to be funny. It's not like you're gonna take freaking Iron Man at this point and give them a super self-aware type comic book movie.
Yeah, no, it's true. I will say for Archie, I mean, I guess it does make sense that it's like this teen drama, right? Because Archie is essentially it's a soap opera. Right, for years, you're reading the stories of
Archie. Is he with Betty?
Yeah, who's he gonna go with? Oh my God, something's happening at High.
The Hamburglar is also, I forget his name.
There's the Hamburglar in the comic book.
What's his name? Archie's best friend.
Oh, Junkhead?
Junkhead. Yeah, I call him the Hamburglar because he's always eating fucking hamburgers.
Does he eat hamburgers?
Yes.
Are you just mixing a bunch of comic characters into one?
Oh, he eats hamburgers.
Jughead. His name is Jughead.
Jughead.
And he's got the little crown thing.
The little crown. He's always eating hamburgers.
Who plays Jughead in Riverdale?
One of the twins from The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
Was that a show you enjoyed?
The Sweet Life?
Yeah.
I was a little bit older for The Sweet Life.
That's really all I have to say about this movie. I loved it. Maybe I'll check out Riverdale. To get my fix. I do love Sabrina the Teenage Witch, though.
You do. It's the same Archie Comics character.
It is. Sabrina's part of that run. We have the Melissa Joan Hart show and the TV movie, but also the Netflix show is really, really good.
Right.
So,
and then they crossed it over with Riverdale.
We need a new Josie and the Pussycats TV show.
It's too soon from Riverdale.
You think so?
Yeah, it is.
I think it would be really cool.
You gotta wait like another 5 to 10 years for that.
We could do it in the TikTok era. I think it'd be funny.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. You got anything to add before we close out, Gabe?
Not at all. You guys go watch Josie and the Pussycats. Let us know in the comics or the comments and what you guys thought about it, if you liked it. And don't forget to follow us and subscribe. We're trying to reach 100 followers here on Spotify.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen this movie, go check it out. It's really, really funny. You'll have a great time with it. And then come back here and continue the conversation, continue listening, leave a comment, and join us on the next episode where we cover another Hanna-Barbera property, Scooby-Doo. Wait, is that the next episode?
Yeah.
No way. Is it that or Bring It On?
Whichever one at this point.
You know what? It's one of those. I don't know off the top of my head. We made that post, and I haven't looked at it. So we'll be 100% prepared.
We'll be prepared for it. We'll be more prepared than we are today.
In this very moment, yes. But it's always a great time talking about these movies, and we can't wait to record the next episode. So as Gabe said, hit us on Spotify. Hit that follow button. You can also follow us on Good Miho Pictures on the YouTube channel. And we're going to still keep talking these movies. We have a whole lineup, and we're very excited to move forward with it. So we'll see you guys later.